right, welcome to another episode of Going for Two, and the Going for Two Roadshow continues, but this is one that's been in the making for probably 2.5 years, 3 years to kind of get out here, and we're going to do something really exciting, and we are going to introduce Trevor Collver's brand new vehicle, the brand new paint job. Everything is ready to go. The season we're gearing up for. How are we feeling before you show that? Like, are you a little nervous showing some people? Because I know you've seen it, but we haven't seen it. So are you nervous showing people?
No, I'm excited. This is what I've been working at all winter and put a lot of hours and pride in this thing. So really excited to show you guys and all the viewers at home.
We're excited to see it. So without further ado, let's check it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Holy crap.
Now we're sitting down in front of it. We've had our opportunity to see it. So we'll just go around really quickly before we start. Like, what was your first reaction, Kaylin, when you saw this?
Can I test it out?
Yeah.
No.
That's a hard no.
Okay.
And Chad, what about you?
That was not my first thought. I want to make that very clear. I've seen these things go, and I've seen me drive, so that was off the table right away. All I kept thinking was, what's under this thing? That's what I wanted to know.
Lots of time and money.
I
knew the second part.
And the first thing that came to mind is, how did you choose black and orange? Why? That is definitely the focus. And I mean, I see we have other colors based on sponsors, but black and orange is definitely the focus there. So how was black and orange, how was that decided for you?
So I've kind of had a theme color the last about 10 years now. It's been orange. I've been white, black, and orange, kind of orange and black. And Inventory Express Lubricants, my biggest sponsor. As we kind of made that our theme color, he started to rebrand his company a little bit too to work with us in the orange, and orange became his color, and we kind of stuck with that orange. Growing up as a kid, one of my favorite colors was orange for cars driving by. You don't see many, but I like that, and I know that other kids might like that too. So anything to grab a little bit of attention. And then this year we just decided to go all black. We wanted to keep it nice and simple with the orange highlights and really let our sponsors' logos and names kind of shine through. Because without all those people, we wouldn't be able to get to the racetrack every week.
Yeah, exactly. And I even see that nice bright orange Going for Two logo on your head. So
that's right.
Yeah,
it works good.
I wasn't sure if we picked the orange for you, somebody else picked it, but we're going to take credit for it because that's usually what we do on stuff like this, right?
Now, I've learned that you lose a lot of weight in races, so you sweat quite a bit. Choosing the black, is that going to be tough for you? Are you expecting to lose a few more pounds this summer?
A little bit not. The advantage that we have at Delaware and our racing on Friday nights is at night. So usually we're in the sunset, we're in the dark, and it won't affect me quite as much. If it was a day thing, might not be a great choice because I'd be sweating a lot more.
Yeah. I like it.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the history of how we got here. So because I was telling you before, my son is really into NASCAR and driving a lot of things. So how does one go from being a fan watching to being the person doing?
So it depends how you want to get in it. There's a lot of different avenues. Me, myself, I actually just had a birthday a couple days ago. I'm 29 now. I started racing when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Out at Grand Bend beside the drag strip, there's a small circle track. I race go-karts there. They're called micro sprints. Go-karts, people know better. But started racing there. And it's funny, my dad and his 6 brothers are all mechanics. And my mom, who's a respiratory therapist, she got me into racing. She's a diehard NASCAR fan, and she's at the track with me all the time. We're meeting before work at 6 o'clock in the morning on the road. She's dropping off notes that she's taken home and worked on at night to get back to me, and or grad She's a diehard, but anyway, she got me into it way back when, and kind of moved my way through the ranks in the vehicles at Grand Med Speedway, and then worked my way to Delaware Speedway and kind of travel Ontario. But there's other ways to get in it too. At Delaware, they have a starter class called Bone Stock.
Okay.
So it's like a 4-cylinder bone stock car. Basically, it's like you guys have probably all had a Sunfire or a Cavalier or a Honda Civic or something like that, right? So that's what a lot of those cars are made up of, and they basically just put a roll cage inside those little 4-cylinder cars, and you go out and you race, and it's interesting too. There's a friend of ours, his name's Chris Lawrence. He has a rental program. I don't know the exact value, but I think it's around $300 or $400 you pay, and you show up to the track, and he's got a car there ready for you to race.
Okay.
You just show up and run, and it's a good thing for people who think they might want to race, but rather than spending like a ton of money to realize you don't like it,
right? Maybe
that's your appetizer, your taste tester, just to see if you do like it. You know, dip your toes in before you fully commit to all the time and money and effort.
So in my family, on my mother's side, everybody raced cars, actually out at Delaware.
Okay.
My uncle was there for 20, 30 years, my grandfather before him, and I had zero interest never driving a car, to make that very clear. But I also got told, like when I got my license, I'm like, hey, maybe this is something I could do. And the first thing I was told from my grandfather was, you don't have the head to be a race car driver because we couldn't afford a car for you. So my question is, what is your demeanor when you're out there? Like, how do you keep yourself in check? Because yes, you have lots of sponsors, but these things aren't cheap. You made it very clear to us already. So sometimes you have to kind of put your pride to the side, which I know I wouldn't do.
It's funny. Like, so I sometimes get it from my sponsors when I've got into a couple run-ins with some guys who are like, oh, you know, why don't you go take them out next week? And I'm like, I know, like, it seems like the good, tough thing to do and whatever, you know, don't
Rubbing is racing, I
guess, right? Well, to a degree. You know, don't let them push around, you know, go put them back in the wall or something. It's like, that's great, and that happens this week, but then the next week, when they come back and put me in the wall, I'm going to be out here, like, it's not even just the money and the sponsor, but the time, like, So one way I try and race is, and it's kind of a famous racing saying, is race the way you want to be raced. Just like kids, you tell your kids, right? Treat someone the way you want to be treated or whatever. So I try and race very clean. I think I'm known as one of the racers that's more respectful and clean, and will give guys an inch. But at the same time, I'm as competitive as anyone. If I want to win, I kind of have to bump someone out of the way a little bit to do that. Robin's racing, like you say, kind of.
Now, in every sport, analytics has really come a long way. Has that happened in racing? In the sense, I know racing is about feel. People always say it's a feel when you get on the track, but is there? We know that these certain guys, when you get in the final 20 laps, they're going to be more aggressive on turns 2 and 3, kind of thing, versus the rest of the track. Are you guys seeing that now? Like you mentioned, you're known as a guy who's going to be given an inch here and there, kind of thing. Is that known because people have watched film on you, or they just raced against you enough to know?
I think they've raced against me enough to know. Like when you're out there, as you're out there driving, and I'm going in the corner beside one of you guys, I'm probably going to drive a little bit differently. You're a bit of a wild guy by the sounds of it. Maybe you're more reserved, or maybe.
Only one speeding ticket, so I'm pretty casual out there.
I got one speed. It's that simple. If you're in the way, that's not my fault.
No, but it is a lot about analyzing who you're racing against and how you're going to make this move. And as you're watching these other guys race throughout the race, you're studying them. You're like, oh, in turn 3, the guy in front of me, he's really slipping up a lot here. That's my opportunity where I could go. Or coming off the corner, he's really drifting up. Or however, like you really try and study the guys in front of you to set up your pass. And it's so evenly matched out there that some of it is momentum. So it's not just like, oh, I'll just get on the gas harder than someone else will drive by him. Like you have to time it perfectly and maybe arc it in a different way. So sometimes it takes a couple laps of studying a driver in front of you and setting up and finding the right hole. Or sometimes he just slips up enough and you have to be right on it, because there might be a window of opportunity this big, and that could be the difference between you coming second, third, and maybe winning a championship or not winning a championship if it's only out by a point.
Right. And So a lot of people have a hard time with the backseat driver, right? Somebody telling you what to do while you're driving. So my question is like, how do you keep a calm composure when you have people in your ear telling you what to do next? Because like, I don't think I could do that.
I was looking at you like, yeah, you'd be like, shut up, I'm not listening. I'm doing this my way.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how you listen to that and react to that, and obviously you're doing it in a positive way because like you've been successful along the way.
Right. Yeah. So, I kind of am similar to you in that sense that I don't want people telling me what to do a lot. So I kind of tell my spotter, he's kind of got semi-strict orders for me that unless there's something that I can't see or that I need to change how I'm driving, don't talk to me.
Right. Okay.
I've seen it before, been on the radio before where a spotter has been talking to a driver and they talk too much, and I literally watch the driver change his driving style and get worse because the spotter's distracting him too much.
Right.
And no matter how well you can tune things out, if you're sitting there in complete silence focusing on something and you're sitting there with someone in your ear, you're probably gonna have more focus when it's complete silence. So to me, I'm always checking my mirrors, and if someone gets close to me, I don't want them to let me know that someone's right there until they're under me. Because if they're saying, oh, someone's creeping up, then I'm like, oh, what? What's that? And then I lose my focus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So and I've seen that a lot where someone can be as fast as you or faster than you get up to you, but passing you is a whole nother thing, right? Like I said, lining it up with the momentum. And so if a spotter tells me and I change up my line and it screws me up, then I lose a spot. So I like kind of let me know if I need to change or move over, something's happening because someone's there and I don't know, but if not, kind of let me do my thing.
You kind of said about how like someone gets you kind of move your head around. I'm picturing like a sprinter. Like you ever watch a sprinter, their head doesn't move, right? So when you're driving a car, are you only thinking like my head only goes one direction? Is that, and then you have, well, obviously check your mirrors and your blind spots, how it goes. I don't know if you have blind spots, unless you're going too fast. But if you're in the blind spot, you're getting hit. But yeah, like, is your head like is it on a swivel or is it like dead laser focused straight every time?
It's pretty locked in with, I have it's called the Hans device. So it attaches to my helmet and my shoulder belts. I can really, and with my containment seat, I can really only move my head like this much. I can barely move it. So it's basically, I'm locked in. The only time I'm really moving my head is I go in the corner. I don't feel it because I've done it for so long, but if you watch me going in the corner, like my whole body will move, right? Because you're going in the corner 100 miles an hour and then your body has to kind of move, right?
That's how I play video games too. When I'm turning, I'm like,
you're going 100 miles an hour.
Sometimes if I'm trying to pass someone and my car's just not fast enough, I might be rocking a little bit trying to get it. It doesn't really help. And even sometimes when if your car isn't handling quite right, or you got someone that's really hard on you, you're going hard after someone, like you get really intense. I wish there could be a camera like on my face, because I know sometimes I'm just clinching and got my tongue out, and like there's lots of times where I go a couple minutes, I feel like I didn't take a breath, like I'm just holding my breath.
You can borrow our camera guy anytime you want. He can sit beside you there. Yeah,
just put him in there.
Yeah.
He's too heavy. We don't want any weight in there.
Put a little GoPro in the front there.
Don't take that personally.
Anyone's too heavy. That's like you guys have all watched the movie Dodgeball.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right, the 5Ds of dodgeball. So there's 3 L's in racing: low, left, and light.
Okay.
So we want all the weight as low as we can, we want all the weight as left as we can, and we want it as light as we can.
So how much does this car weigh then?
So with me in the car, minimum weight at the end of the race has to be 3,000 pounds.
Minimum weight?
Minimum weight.
Okay. I didn't realize there were, I wouldn't
So why if you take a big old dump right before you go on this, and you weigh like 299?
You're done.
You're done.
Yeah, you're disqualified. Done.
And what's the height? I saw a really funny picture of Dale Earnhardt getting measured at the back there, and he's standing at the front, just lifting it off the ground with his foot a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But what is the height that you're allowed to go down to?
So there's multiple different heights. There's body heights. There's height. Yeah. So there's body heights for the minimum height. There's also body heights for the roof line. Then there's chassis height. So without the driver, it is 6 inches from the frame to the ground. And then this is 4 inches, but we make this thing so high that like when I go in the corner, and I'm sure after the first practice, I'll have to adjust this wear strip. I set it pretty close, but like the car will be scraping on the ground. Like it travels way down, is scraping on the ground. And
now, has that been pretty standard for many years, or has that changed even just during your time in racing?
It's gotten more important over the years. So before, racers would run more of a conventional setup where they wouldn't care as much about that. It's more about getting the handle of the car and getting it running good. But now it's a lot more important to get the attitude better. Like I think guys have just became smarter over the years and realize the center of gravity is like number one. So the lower the center of gravity, the better. So if we can get the car to basically slam on the ground and get lots of rebound in our shocks to help hold it into the ground, then that's just going to help us go through the corner a little bit faster. My number one example is, can you go around a corner faster in a monster truck or in a little sports car, right? Like you're in a big monster truck and it wants to roll over and it's got all this high weight, where you're in a little sports car and it just wants to take the corner. So kind of evolution over the years on how people have changed setups. Like years ago, people would run 900 and 800 pound springs in these cars, and now guys are down to 300 and 400 pound springs in these cars.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that one of the biggest changes you would have seen in the last 15 years in technology? Like, is it the rubber and the tires gotten crazy better in the last decade? Like, what's the biggest change you kind of seen?
Honestly, just a lot of little things. Like every year, the tracks try and do their best at not changing the rules a lot, because every time you change rules and add more parts onto these cars, that people have to buy these parts, and it's an added cost, right? But over the years, there's just been so many little progressions, and even with this car. So this car, the original center section of this chassis was built in 2005. I bought that car in 2016, and I put a new front clip on it. And the frame rails on this car are off a 71 to 81 Camaro. Okay. So they're like, this is off a stock 71 to 81 Camaro. And then everything else, as you can see, is all round tube custom chassis. But
I'm not a huge car guy, but I know when you say the word Camaro, it screams muscle. That's all I know, right? So
that's right. Yeah. And this is, the body's a newer version of the Camaro, but basically everything on here is kind of stock, but there's just some different racing components on it that make it perform better. And just all the changes over the years, we've made this car better. And every year, one of my crew guys, he prides me at the end of the year, older guy that's raced for years, Alan Gold. He's like, you know what, Trevor, like, you got to be really proud. Like, you've got everything you can get out of this car. And I'm like, that's the only motivation I need to make it go faster next year, right? And I don't know if he does that on purpose or what, but every year we just find something a little bit different, and everything changes, like with technology, just a little bit. And there's a company in London that helps me a little bit with that, McCall Racing Enterprises. They have 12 or 13 full-time race car mechanics that work on race cars 60 hours a week. And they figure out all these little secrets, and I bring my car there at the start of the year, and we work with them, and I study with them. We brought this car there. They have a pull-down machine. So there's hydraulic cylinders that get hooked up to the frame, and they pull the car down to the ride height it would get to in the corner, and then it has load cells on each tire, and it'll tell you the amount of weight that gets put on each tire and how the weight's being transferred, and like it's pretty technical stuff.
Like you're talking about hundreds of seconds that make the difference, right?
Oh yeah.
So having guys like that on your side has to be a massive help.
Absolutely.
And does everybody out at Delaware kind of use the same guys, or are they saying like, hey, we're Trevor's guy? Yeah.
No, there's a couple different companies that do that. I definitely believe McCall Racing Enterprises is the #1 company in London, Ontario, and probably Canada.
Look at the camera and say that one more time.
Yeah. They know. This is how I get discount on parts, or I hope so. I hope so. But no, they've been in it a lot of years, and they've got a lot of experience and a lot of racers. Like there's guys there. One of my good buddies that helps me. He works there full time. He's a racer himself, very well known racer, Joe Lawrence. Like the guys that work there, like they love racing more than anything else, and they're just full time invested on how they can think of these different ideas and make cars faster. And they do some of it to help me, and they do some of it to help them because it helps them with their stuff too. So it's kind of comes full circle.
It's another example of like how spoiled we are in London. We've talked about the greatest baseball diamond in the area, a great hockey place to go to. Delaware Speedway, I've been going there since I was a kid, so I mean that's a really cool place to be going to as well. So we're just really, really lucky here, right?
Well, yeah, and we know how you get the car ready in the off season, but how do you get yourself ready? Because like to me, like it takes a different type of dude to race a car, right? Like there's definitely something that's not normal, you know, like not in a mean way, but it takes a different guy to get 100 miles an hour, start flying around a track. But like, how do you get your body ready to endure something like that?
Yeah, just I do my best to do as much off-season prep as I can with being in the gym and working out and trying to get in the best shape I can that way. Part of it for me, honestly, is I'm not a very flexible guy, so I have to make sure I'm limber enough to make it through the season. As bad as it sounds at 29, but yeah, it's funny too. I got hip surgery years ago, and I told the surgeon that did this surgery what I do, like, as my hobby, right? I always race and tell them I'm in the car and like, yeah, that's the absolute worst position you could be for your hips. That's like, well, that's great. I'm not going to change it, but
yeah.
So
Appreciate the advice.
I try and do some stretching. It's funny. My wife, sometimes I could see her up in the stands. She's looking and I'm kind of rolling around down in the grass, stretching and trying to roll out my hips or whatever, just so I could get back in the car, down in the pits. They're kind of pointing down and laughing at me from up top.
So, get this guy in a yoga class.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So what is during the race, like what is happening to your shoulders? What is happening to like your upper body? And then Kaylin kind of mentioned you're getting super dehydrated as it's going. So like, how do you keep yourself, one, hydrated, and how do you keep your arms from just like giving up?
I think it's just the love of racing, honestly.
Just like the drive.
You're so focused, and you like I said, I can sometimes feel my tongue's hanging out or whatever. I'm tensed up or whatever, but I'm just so focused on what I'm doing. I really don't feel a lot of the pain. I've been in it before. I've been in a 100-lap race before. It was like 42 degrees. We were at Peterborough Speedway. The word wind or air movement didn't exist that day. It was the most still day I've ever experienced. And after that race, I kind of got out and collapsed. And we had water, but it was just, and there was a couple red flags. So there's a couple bad wrecks and we had to stop. So like, again, there's no air movement or wind or anything. So we had to stop and wait while these cars got cleaned up and the safety crew attended the drivers that were in these wrecks. So there's definitely been some bad times. Again, with it being on Friday nights this year, at night, it's not as bad with the heat and that sort of stuff. So you
don't have a water backpack with just like the straw.
Oh, that weigh him down.
Because you gotta stay light. Yeah, that's right.
There's drivers too that there's lots of drivers in my class that have helmet blowers.
Okay.
And so it'll blow cool air into you, and they have water bottles. I'm kind of old school. I don't want to do that. Like to me, like again, low, left, and light. If I have a helmet blower, I've got a piece of equipment that's up high.
Right.
That's not optimal. So if I got to suffer through a little more pain to maybe make my car go a little better, I'll do it.
We'll let the softies be soft, right?
Yeah, that's right.
This year, you're focusing all your attention to Delaware Speedway.
That's right.
So when is the season starting?
So May 10th is the opening night at Delaware Speedway. Racing starts at 7:30 every Friday night throughout the summer. We're there, I'm going to say probably 80% of those nights. We have a couple off nights throughout the season, but the last couple years we've been racing at Delaware and a traveling series that we travel through Ontario with. Right. Just this year, for a couple different reasons, we've decided just to focus on Delaware. So it'll be nice. My crew, my dad and uncle, I think Daryl, the guys that help me in the shop every week will appreciate it, because when we go to those different tracks, you have to change. You don't have to. Sometimes we go a little bit overboard. We change springs and setup, and we always have to change the rear gear because it's a smaller track, the other tracks. So we have to change the gear ratio to set up the car right for that. So with being at one track, we can just focus on one track instead of, okay, well, the car worked awesome, but now let's tear it apart and completely change it for this other track. And then hopefully we put it back together the same way you go back to this other track and all the back and forth. So Not going to miss that this year. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate it too, because now we can actually come watch, right? Like, we're traveling around Ontario is tough to get to, but no excuse for the boys not to be at Delaware on Friday night.
You just put us on the spot now.
Yeah. And
You're welcome.
as much as we appreciated you going for 2 titles, throw a little plug in there for the one is definitely like, it's right there. It's focused right in front of us. So the season goes on, and is there any like specific nights that you kind of have already circled on the calendar that you want to make sure that everybody's aware of?
Well, any night, any of you fans could come out to the racetrack. We want you there. We want your support. We want the support for Trevor, Collver Motorsports. We want the support for Delaware Speedway because it relies on all the fans coming out. But we have one big night circled this year. So August 23rd, we call it Pack the Track Trevor Collver Fan Night.
Okay.
So I invite all my sponsors, family, friends, co-workers, neighbors, basically anyone I know out to the racetrack and try and pack it with a bunch of fans. And we have an autograph session at the start of the night. You can come down, get your picture with the car, get an autograph from the driver. And lots of kids like it. And it's just a really fun atmosphere. A lot of people that come are from my hometown of Lucan and around the area. So it's kind of like a high school reunion for a lot of people. A lot of people see each other and stuff like that. We've done it since 2018, I think was our first year. In 2018, we finished third in both the races. 2019, I won all 3 races that night, other than my wedding day. That was probably the best day of my life.
There. That was smart.
That was probably the best day of my life, other than my wedding day. Then 2020 was COVID year. 2021, I think we finished third again. 4th last year. Every year we've had the night. We've been successful. Be really good to win again this year.
Yeah, I know. We're looking forward to coming out to see it. Now, you're focusing all your attention to racing on Fridays.
Yep.
So what does a Saturday look like? And then what does it, because like Saturday you probably have to give it back to the wife, right? And then Sunday you give it back to the car, or is it? Oh, right. Now we're on the spot.
Well, that's what I should do, apparently.
Oh, thanks, Shane.
His summer just changed. Saturdays are now booked.
You're welcome.
Don't listen to him. So typically, the way our whole summer works basically is Friday night is race night. Saturday is usually assess the damages, hopefully there are none, or start playing with the car more. Same with Sunday, finishing anything. And on Monday night, they have open practice at the Speedway.
Okay.
So that's the only time you could go to the track other than Friday nights is Monday nights. I'm very well known for going to 95% of all the Monday night practices. Lots of drivers don't go at all, but I'm there all the time. We're always trying something different just to make the car better. Like I'll win on Friday night and the car is just perfect. And then Sunday afternoon, I message my crew and I'm like, hey, see you on Monday. We're going to try something. And then they're like, you just won? And I'm like, yeah, but we can get it better, right? So I'm always trying to change that way.
Yeah.
And then after Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, it's either changing the car back if it didn't like it or finishing the preparation for Friday. So basically, unless we have an off week, basically Monday to Sunday is just race car.
Right, 7 days a week. And you know what? We appreciate you taking the time. The time flies when we start talking about this. Good luck in this season. And, we can't wait to see this car at Delaware.
Thanks for having me. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.